Artificial intelligence.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
your blood.
We're going to kick it off with some politic news, and this is dailymail.co.uk, and the headline here, General Mark Milley warns cadets graduating from West Point to prepare for a global war between superpowers fighting with robotic tanks, ships, and planes as brutal Ukraine war continues.
Cool.
There's a lot going on there.
We've been warning them about that for a while.
General Mark Milley finally catching up to what Canary Cry has been saying for a decade. So yeah, let's get some clips here. They're a little bit longer, but I thought they were important today because much like General MacArthur gave a speech at West Point in 1962, I believe. What was that, 60 years ago? General Milley kind of taking the blueprint from that, and I'll quote some of the speech from MacArthur 60 years ago in a moment, but let's hear a little bit from General Milley here.
As we are entering a world that is becoming more unstable, the world you are being commissioned into has the potential for significant international conflict between great powers, and that potential is increasing, not decreasing. We are also on the cusp of a change in the fundamental character of war. The nature of war is not going to change. It's immutable. It's still a political act. It's a decision by humans to impose their political will on their opponent by the use of violence, as you all studied here. War will still be characterized by chance and fog and friction, and its causes will likely still adhere to Thucydides' famous analysis of fear, pride, and interest. But the character of war, how wars are fought, where wars are fought, with what weapons, technologies, organizations, and doctrines, in short, the ways and means of war, that is undergoing a fundamental, profound, and significant change as you get commissioned. The organizations and weapons and doctrines of the military in 2025 and all the way out to 2050, in that quarter century, in that short period of time, it's going to be fundamentally different than anything we've seen before.
Doctrines. Thought that was an interesting point there, but I continue.
The maturity of various technologies that either exist today or are in the advanced stages of development, when combined, are likely to change the character of war just by themselves. Information technology that exploded in the 1800s has been on an upward curve for over 150 years.
What?
The ubiquitous effect is almost unbelievable. No matter where you are in the world today, you can be observed from some device. And as you all know, what can be seen can be hit. And the proliferation of information technologies is also rapidly diffusing political power once held by nation states and is accelerating instability. You'll be fighting with robotic tanks and ships and airplanes.
There it is. You'll be fighting with robotic tanks, ships, and airplanes after, I don't know, some pretty wild statements about information technology. I don't know what arc of information technology he's talking about, but starting in the 1800s?
Yeah, that's what I thought, too. That was an interesting point. Information technology has been I forget the exact word he was saying, but 1800s. Yeah, that's a lot of time for information technology to be changing.
Yeah, and how
was he talking about the telephone or something?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, it could be. I don't know. You never know with these sort of cryptic ways of talking.
Right.
But we got more here. This is how AI changes the future.
We've witnessed a revolution in lethality and precision munitions. What was once the exclusive province of the United States military is now available to most nation states with the money and will to acquire them. There's a variety.
Hold on, because we sell it to them. By the way, just so we're clear on that, you know, we're not.
Right.
He didn't say that there, but that's what's going on.
A wide variety of technologies developing in synthetic fuels, 3D manufacturing, medicine, human engineering, and the enhancement of which will have significant military implications as well.
Human engineering. There it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right out in the open, folks. This isn't some crazy fringe blog. Continuing from General Milley.
And finally, there's the mother of all technologies, artificial intelligence, where machines are actually developing the capacity to learn and to reason. These rapidly converging developments in time and space are resulting in that profound change, the most profound change ever in human history.
Time and space.
And whatever overmatch we, the United States, enjoyed militarily for the last 70 years is closing quickly. And the United States will be, in fact, we already are, challenged in every domain of warfare, in space, in cyber, maritime, air, and of course land. So what are the implications for you? The first thing is to understand the basic outlines of this future world. Although we cannot determine the exact environment we're going to be in the 30s and 40s and 50s or beyond, we can, through rigorous analysis, determine what the world will look like. There's surely going to be a lot of surprises along the way in development of forces and weapons, but the structure and organization of our joint forces is going to have to change drastically, and we know that. And all of us are going to have to be open-minded, you most of all.
Is he talking about a great reset of the American military? Is that, if I'm not mistaken, that's what he's talking about here?
Sounds like it. You got to be open-minded.
Got to be open-minded. Yeah, especially
you most
the cadets.
of all.
Yeah.
Open up your mind.
Pretty wild. A lot of stuff in the AI, the ability to completely change warfare and time and space. I mean, it's packed full of stuff.
Yeah, it is sort of this strange, philosophical, sort of pie in the sky thing. He's, for such a military man, such a straightforward military man, there's a lot of sort of navel gazing about this.
Yeah, this is sort of the kicker, at least for me. I sat through the whole presentation. It was about 25 minutes long, and this part stood out to me. They're talking here, General Milley here is talking about the future of warfare, what it looks like. And it was interesting, Basil, because for me, part of me was kind of like, oh, wow, we're already in it, and we're doing it. And another part of me was like, that's doing it for America, my homeland, like I got all amped about America. So I don't know. It's, the PSYOP is working, I guess. But check this out.
You've still got those triggers inside you guys.
USA. Here we go.
We can no longer cling to concepts and organizations and the weapons of the past. We may not have divisions and corps. We may not have tanks and Bradleys and carriers and manned fighters and bombers. Additionally, the battlefield will be highly complex and almost certainly decisive in urban areas against elusive, ambiguous enemies that combine terrorism and warfare alongside conventional capabilities, all embedded within large civilian populations. In this world, your world, you are going to have to optimize yourselves for urban combat, not rural combat.
For urban combat. See, this is, I think this is some pretty crazy stuff he's saying here. So let's back it up a little bit. It's talking about how the enemies are going to be embedded in civilian sort of areas, and urban warfare will be a thing, and it's pretty crazy. This is
really, really scary, actually.
It is. Okay, let's back it up and continue.
You're going to have to optimize yourselves for urban combat, not rural combat. That has huge implications for intelligence collection, vehicles, weapons design, development, logistics, commo, and all of the other aspects of our profession. The battlefield is going to be non-linear, compartmented, and units are going to have non-contiguous battle space with significant geographical separation between friendly forces. You're going to be much more lonely on a future battlefield.
Oh, great.
This type of battlefield is going to place a very high premium on independent, relatively small formations that are highly lethal and linked to very long-range precision fires. The exact details we don't know yet. But we need to change, and we need to change our current methods of thinking, training, and fighting. The joint warfighting concept currently under development will help guide us as a roadmap to the future. But we need to chart that course very fast. And for speed, we need to look no further than the incredible innovative work that the Army Futures Command in Austin, Texas has done in paving the way for the future. the new concepts they've developed and the weapon systems. In just 36 months, they brought 24 new programs into low-rate production, a record of innovation.
I didn't know this. Did you hear what he just said? In 36 months, they've developed new weapon systems that they've brought to development.
Space lasers.
Man, what is he talking about? He's talking about UFOs? What is this? Because you know, given the pattern by which new technologies get deployed or under research and all this stuff, if there's a social pressure, making it happen, such as geopolitical destabilization for this example, we had COVID for COVID. It accelerates technological development. So just something to keep in mind.
The way he was talking about, you'll be much lonelier. There will be small units. It sounds a lot like a lot of video games that I've played. Like it sounds like like Halo, where you'll have Master Chief and he's off running around, but he has the support of long range, space lasers. Yes. To your point, he even drills it down even further.
In just 36 months, they brought 24 new programs into low-rate production, a record of innovation in scale and scope and speed, unprecedented in U.S. Army history. Technology will change, but this institution is about you. It's about people and the ones who are going to follow you into battle. You are our most valuable asset. You are our most significant asymmetric advantage. You represent what is inherent in the United States military. For we come from a society of improvisers, a society of tinkerers, a society of innovators and problem solvers and tech savvy at a very early age. And independence of action comes natural to all Americans. Self-starting initiative, disdain for boundaries and rules, nonlinear critical thinking, and an aggressive will to win, coupled with an eternal optimism to overcome all obstacles and achieve the objective. All of that is hardwired in our national DNA, and it's hardwired into the heart and soul of the American soldier. In the absence of supervision, the willingness to disobey specific orders to achieve the intended purpose, the willingness to take risks to meet the intent, the acceptance of failure in practice in order to learn from our experimentation. These are all the qualities that you will have to demonstrate.
There you go.
Wow. That's crazy. He's literally describing Master Chief from Halo.
And I'm sure there's many examples of such a situation where you're without some kind of authority, so you got to make independent decisions. They may go against some of the rules, but it's for the greater purpose of the mission. I mean, that kind of stuff. I know it's sort of typical military tactic and philosophy and stuff, but in the context of what he's describing in this future technological warfare, man, I mean, there's nothing but dystopic projections. There's really, it's really hard to think of all this development making things better for everybody, in the coming years. I mean, but who knows? We may be wrong about that. But
what is better even mean, Gons?
Well, I mean, you're right. If you are a believer in the return of Jesus, things getting worse, it's kind of like, hey, getting closer. There's an optimism built in the reverse direction there. But there you go. This speech took me off guard. I didn't think there was going to be that much stuff in it, but after listening through, it was certainly something that I think we should take note. And just for context,
y'all are lucky that I cannot talk very much here because there is so much more
to say,
to ramble on about there. But
I know. I'm going to let it sit there. You can save it for. I'm sure this will come up in other instances. But let me just remind everybody about what was said 60 years ago. Almost. Well, it is to the month, not to the day, but it was back on May 12th, 1962, when General Douglas MacArthur made his speech to the Corps of Cadets at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, which is where Milley is here. And in that speech, he said this, quote, "You now face a new world, a world of change. The thrust into outer space of the satellite spheres and missiles mark a beginning of another epoch in the long story of mankind. In the 5 or more billion years the scientists tell us has taken to form the Earth, in the 3 or more billion years of development of the human race, there has never been a more abrupt or staggering evolution." Sound familiar with Milley's whole never in human history have we ever had and technological change like AI? "We deal now with the things," back to MacArthur, "we deal now with the things of this world alone," or no, I'm sorry, not with the things of this world alone, but with the limitable distances and as yet unfathomable mysteries of the universe. CERN. "We are reaching out for a new and boundless frontier. We speak in strange terms of harnessing the cosmic energy, of making winds and tides work for us, of creating unheard synthetic materials to supplement or even replace our old standard basics, like food, to purify seawater for our drink." Got a local story there that boils my blood about that, but I'll move on. I'm not digress at this moment. "On mining the ocean floors for new fields of wealth and food, of disease preventative to expand life into the hundreds of years, controlling the weather for a more equitable distribution of heat and cold, of rain and shine, of spaceships to the moon, of the primary target in war no longer limited to the armed forces of the enemy, but instead to include his civil populations, of ultimate conflict, a united human race, and the sinister forces of some other planetary galaxy, of such dreams and fantasies as to make life the most exciting of all time." That was Douglas McCarthy, 1962, in his speech to West Point. So, any parallels, any patterns, any, I mean, he was kind of right about some of it, the wind energy, I don't know about the harnessing cosmic energy. Maybe they cracked, Tesla's papers or something between, or maybe they had it at that time, and, they were sort of giving hints to what that all means. But it also speaks to, and the reason why I know about this speech is because when I went down the rabbit trail of the secret space program, the breakaway civilization, part of the thesis that was being presented, and I'm not necessarily saying that it's true, but the thesis was that, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, the technology was given to man, perhaps the U.S. government, perhaps somebody, and as part of the secret development of that technology, not just reverse engineering, but just developing more craft and weaponry, we have a completely separate civilization going on. That's it's not just black budget. It's black budget is sort of the first layer of protection. It's much deeper and much darker and compartmentalized. And in that regard, they already have all this technology, and so when MacArthur went out in 1962, that's what they had developed, and that's what they had hoped to implement in the next 40, 50, 60 years, and here we are 60 years later, and once again we are given a sort of blueprint as to what life will look like, and it sounds a lot like multiple dystopian or cyber dystopian types of situations that are common in video games. All right, wow. I'm not used to you
Agreed.
Just like not responding or not jumping in, especially when you're right there, Man.
I know. No, you're nailing it. I mean, it's true. But it matches what we've experienced, I would say, in the past decade, but more specifically the past 3 years, which is that turning point in so many different aspects of, future pontification, what the future can look like. Mm-hmm. If you talk about, of course, COVID and how that relates to, control of populations, technology, of course, with the gene editing, the gene-based medical procedures, all the way to robotics, cryptocurrency, a new paradigm in economics, just across the board, everything. There was a catalyst over the past few years, and it makes sense that the military is also at this turning point where they are preparing, ready, willing, and enthusiastic about a new version of warfare that won't look anything like it did before. I mean, it's just a really weird time to be alive, man. We've got, just shifts in human existence that you would think take a long time to take place. It's like, even you think about the 20th century, and it took 100. What was it? It took like 50 years for us to invent the plane, the airplane, in 1912, and then we were allegedly landing on the moon in 1969. Wow, from flying to landing on the moon in 60 years. Well, I mean, you just talk about the last 5 years, and we had maybe an equal or higher degree of technological change.
It feels exponential. The late and good friend Rob Skiba used to talk about, hey, we were on horse and buggy 130 years ago. Most people were horse and buggy. So, wow, from horse and buggy to iPhones and what General Milley's talking about, some kind of weird AI warfare with robot tanks, and it's quick, relatively quick in human history.